Zeldris, Gelda. I don't know how to tell y'all this, but y'all kids gonna be kind of whack. Thank you to our $5 patrons, Strawbones, Redwolf4765, Midnight Gemlord, and Sean. Now, we're having this breakdown / discussion on how Zeldris and Gelda's kids, the Dampire clan, if you will, is going to be kind of booty meat. Please leave your own thoughts on how they're going to be in the comment section down below. Leave a like and subscribe if you haven't already. Also, hit that little notification bell so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also, I do have a page down below. Support for as low as $1 a month. Thanks to videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Now, let's hop into the discussion. What's up, guys? Pencil here, and I do love Zeldris. Don't get me wrong. He is probably, I'm calculating, I'm running the statistics and numbers in my head. Probably a top 10, maybe top 8, maybe on a good day, top 5 7 Deadly Sins character for me. I love him. I think he's fantastic. I think he's great. Gelda, she may be pushing like the top 45. It's just because she doesn't get much screen time. She's much more apart. Like, Zeldris is a side character who doesn't get introduced until like a third of the way through the manga, and Gelda is a side character within his story. So it's a side character to a side character. It's really rough in terms of her screen time, but I think she has a good personality. I do love her dedication, respect, and love for Zeldris, and she did pretty good in Cursed by Light too. So overall, I love both of the characters. I think they're great. I think they're fantastic. And obviously, I, like a lot of other people, are very excited to see their kids. Because, you know, that's one of the main things you get from a sequel series. You always want to see what are the kiddies going to be like. And especially when you have parents who can make very interesting combinations, considering Seven Deadly Sins is a whole series about, you know, different species coming together and forming bonds and understanding and, you know, piping each other down. We could get very interesting combos, and so far we've seen some of the results of them. Look at Tristan. Tristan is a hybrid with extremely interesting powers. Not only does he have both sides, but there's also this internal conflict with the demon side and the goddess side, and knowing that he's literally destroying himself, and the fact that he's in a whole bunch of pain whenever he uses his powers, because his powers are fundamentally opposed to each other. Really neat, really cool. Due to Lancelot being a human-fairy hybrid, he gets very different abilities. Sure, he can't fly right now, but according to Nakaba, his transformation ability is even more potent than fairies, and we even see some of that in action. And top that off with the fact that he's using mind reading to a higher degree than anyone else because of his his trademark human ruthlessness. I think it's really cool. That's another hybrid that's been popping off pretty darn well. And, of course, you have the idea of King and Diane's kids, who, while they have not shown up, and Nakaba has been consistently teasing us with them just off screen, just being mentioned, those two twins may just never show up in the narrative, even once we get to the Fairy King's Forest. In reality, a hybrid fairy and giant is pretty cool. They pretty much have control over all of the world. Like, all of nature. They have the earth side and the plant side. The only thing they may not be able to directly biologically control is literal people. But even then, if they inherit some form of disaster, they may be able to do that too. So, hybrids so far in Seven Deadly Sins have been really cool. There have been some combinations we haven't gotten yet, like we haven't seen a demon fairy hybrid, a goddess fairy hybrid, or any more of things like that, but that's obviously not going to happen anytime soon. But for the hybrids we've gotten so far that were set up in the original series, they're popping off, and I'm loving it. I'm loving it, and I'm just excited to see the ones we have not seen yet. But then there's Zeldris and Gelda, and their hypothetical little child or children. And their biology is kind of bad. Okay, now here's the thing, right? The Demon Clan is inarguably, well, I know people are going to argue it, but inarguably the strongest of the 5 clans. No, we are not counting Chaos for the human clan, because Chaos isn't human and Arthur barely counts. So, legitimately, the Demon Clan stands at the pinnacle in terms of raw power. Sure, do other races do things better than them? Yeah, obviously fairies have nature control. Obviously, giants have earth control, and even goddesses have better healing in terms of external healing and better regeneration and stuff like that. So there definitely is other stuff, and obviously light is literally corrosive to demon darkness. But still, outside of that, the Demon Clan is a really good, solid, well-built species, which is weird to say. It's weird to talk about a species like that, but like hypothetically, if we were to make a Seven Deadly Sins game or like an MMORPG where you could choose which of the 5 races you want to be of the 5 major races, I'd personally go with the Demon Clan just because they have a really good set of abilities. Like, overall, they're really, really good. And then they have the Vampire Clan. And, I hate to say it, but they kind of suck. Like, they're literally discount demons, but they do everything worse. Like, there's not a single vampire that does anything. Like, this gonna sound bad. Straight up, a gray demon could probably throw hands with and win with the king of the vampires, Israf. Like, that's how bad the vampires are in terms of just, like, everything. Like, the best feat any vampire clan member has is Gelda biting into the Demon King with her teeth. And even then, that's an outlier. So realistically, in terms of just raw stats, like, it's rough. It's like a strong human beats a strong vampire. Casually. Like, it's crazy, but you could literally send, like, 4 Knights Hauser against the this gonna sound so bad. Against the entire vampire clan, and he probably solos. He probably solos easily, because that's how weak they are in terms of raw abilities. So Zeldris' kids, unlike pretty much every other hybrid pair, he doesn't have a really strong basis, or they don't have a really strong basis biologically. Think of all the other hybrids we've gotten so far. Meliodas and Elizabeth, the strongest demon and the strongest goddess to ever exist. But even if we were to remove those prefixes of strongest demon and strongest goddess, just goddesses are strong and demons are strong. So a hybrid kid of theirs, really of anything, a red demon piping down a divine lance corporal is going to have a pretty strong kid regardless, just because their stats are relatively high. Look at a king and Diane, the strongest fairy king to ever exist, and not the strongest giant as far as we know, but still a very strong giant. Even just remove those prefixes, a fairy giant hybrid, a giant piping down a fairy somehow. Yeah, it could result in a pretty powerful specimen. Fairies, well, maybe not. Fairies kind of suck too. Like, outside of the kings, fairies kind of suck. Halbram King and the Royals are the only exceptions, but fairies kind of booty. But still, giants are pretty darn strong and pretty useful combatively. So the stats are kind of juicy. They're kind of jacked. They're kind of beefy. Even a fairy human hybrid. To be fair, a royal fairy human hybrid, which is very up in the air, but still strong human, Bon, the strongest living human that we know of, at least one that's the pure human still. Like, we're not looking at you, Arthur, you cheated, but out of the pure humans, Bon should be the mightiest by a long shot. That purgatory did him pretty darn good. And Elaine, very strong basis for strong kids. Zeldris, top tier, high level. Is he, like, overly insanely strong? Not really. I say that because, like, he doesn't have any scaling to any, like, he doesn't have any proper scaling to any, like, supreme deity demon king tier threat. And I mean, like, half power supreme deity demon king. Like, he doesn't scale to the full 10 commandments at all. I know that sounds crazy, but in Cursed by Light, Zeldris, 1, had help from Meliodas, and 2, in the novels, it's confirmed that he didn't even actually do it himself. Like, he got a infinity amp from Merlin, which is it's still good feat. It's still a good feat, but it leaves Zeldris pretty much where he scaled before, which is around, like, an eighth of the Supreme Deity's power, or an eighth of the Demon King's power, without amps. He gets higher with amps, arguably, but even then, it's still not, like, too good, but it's good enough. Like, it's still higher than Diane, ironically enough, who also does not scale to any of that level. But still, it's higher than Diane. So he still has a pretty solid basis for power, but Gelda, I ain't too sure about all that. She ain't really got that gains on her, and the vampire stuff doesn't help. And here's the thing, right? Forget the gains, right? Like, let's just assume, just because your parents are strong doesn't necessarily mean you're gonna turn out jacked and juicy just like them. Like, I've seen multiple cases of it where I've seen absolute freaks of nature, like, straight up win the genetic lottery kind of people in their parents, and then, like, they themselves could not fight a stick. If a stick was thrown at them, they'd lose. Like, legitimately, I've seen it. So, obviously, status of your parents doesn't necessarily mean anything. There are recessive genes. You can't just get unlucky. The worst can just happen to you. So, let's just remove that, and let's just analyze the species. I won't go over the Demon Clan, because the Demon Clan's cracked, but the Goddess Clan is also cracked, but the Vampires is really where we run into trouble. Like, they just can't. They can't really. They can't do the existing thing for a solid half of the day. Yeah, they're just weak to sunlight. And I know that's a traditional vampire weakness, right? It's just natural that obviously they're going to be weak to sunlight. But, like, that means Zeldris's kids may be allergic to the sun. You know, that thing that's out half the day? Like, they're allergic to it. They can't intermingle with it. It's just not, it's not within their DNA to go out in the sun. Like, that sucks. And to be fair, I'm assuming the Dampires, which is what I'm calling them. I'm not sure. Unless you want to call them the Vemons. It's either the Vemons or the Dampires. Whichever one you want to do. But let's go with Vemons for now. The Vemons, they're going to be stuck out of luck. Because even if they don't have the same weakness where they can literally just and just immediately perish by going out into the sun, they're still going to be weak to it. They're still going to have, like, extreme sunburn by just existing. Like, a vampire can't breathe next to Gawain, because they would just perish. So I'm assuming a Vemon couldn't breathe next to Gawain without, like, getting an extreme rash and or straight up, like, having their throat swell up and then perish. Because, like, it's just booty meat. It's just booty meat. Like, they're weak to the sun. The sun. Like, the one thing on the planet that's super hard to avoid. Like, how do you even cope with that? The vampires do have an answer to cope with it. We know that the vampires, once again, due to them being knockoff demons, do actually have some access to that good za, that juju, if you will. Obviously, it's the darkness. But having to walk around in darkness all the time isn't very convenient. And obviously, while Zeldris' kids should have a higher variation of it and should still be relatively strong, once again, they are royal-blooded on both sides, with Gelda being vampire royalty and Zeldris being demon clan royalty, but still, I'm not too sure about them using darkness just to defend themselves from the big old ball of fire in the sky. That's kind of awkward. Speaking of kind of awkward, they just doubled down on the light weakness. Like, vampires can get knocked out, KO'd, like hard stop removed from the story if they get hit by a human's purge. A human's purge. Not no, like, top tier goddess coming in to exercise. No, a human can just run up to them and yell, "Purge!" And then the vampire's gone. Tap them on the domer and they're gone. Demons are already susceptible to this. Light is literally their natural predator. It's so... I want to make a whole video talking about how it's weird that the goddess clan... It must have been made after the demon clan or something, because how do you literally make a whole clan of hunters for a very specific other clan? And that's the thing. The Vemons are going to be twice as weak to light, because not only are they just weak to sunlight, like that regular stuff, you know, that stuff. Admittedly, we can be weak to sunlight too. It can be too hot for us, but still, in terms of just, like, sheer light weakness, you don't get, like, to weaken it. Like, Tristan, due to being half demon, half goddess, gets a resistance to light. He's pretty much immune to it because he has goddess in him. Vemons, whatever kids that Zeldris and Gelda pop out, you could sneeze an arc ball on them and they'll lose an arm. They will not be safe. They're so fragile. They're so fragile to something that is so abundant. That's the thing. It's just light. It's light. Like, how do you even dodge it? Obviously, you can dodge it. Like, FTL characters exist all the time. But still, in terms of, like, walking around, you can't do that. Not if you're a Vemon, because you're going to be consistently burning. I don't think they'll immediately burn away like vampires do, because demons don't have a direct light weakness, or at least a sunlight weakness. But still, the fact that they're going to have to walk around in, like, 27,000 SPF sunscreen all the time is gonna suck. They're gonna be awful. And obviously, another thing is, I'm not sure how many hearts they'll have. Like, they seem to just be regular humans outside the blood stuff, so they may not have the full 7 hearts, meaning that they couldn't even go into it if they wanted to. Tristan, I also don't know about him. I think he also has less than 7 hearts. I'm not sure. I'm gonna make a whole video talking about Nephilim biology. But in terms of, like, Vemon biology, they probably won't have 7 hearts. We have no idea how many hearts, I don't think we do. How many hearts do they have? How many hearts do vampires have? Hold up. I don't think they have multiple hearts. Like, and the thing is, right, they have amazing regeneration, right? It's wonderful. It's wonderful. But they can be decapitated. Swung on. And then that regeneration fails. The only time they can overcome being decapitated is when they suck on that top tier, next level, good juice. That's the only time they can. Gelda had to get Demon King tier blood. Like, DKT prime Demon King blood in order to survive decapitation. So what does that mean for Zeldris' kids? Are they just going to be GG'd by a head slash? And of course, like most people get GG'd by a head slash, don't get me wrong. Like even Bond could get GG'd by a head slash because he's going to have to wait for his body to regrow. But still, like having lesser regeneration than the Demon Clan doesn't help. That's the thing. The vampires are just a direct downgrade. The only thing that they bring to the table that others don't is the ability to invade the mind naturally, because apparently Gelda can do that. Gelda is able to invade minds once she gets into the blood and stuff like that, and notably she can invade mind/soul world, so that's interesting. But once again, you have to get close enough to suck the blood, and sweet mother of mercy, hope it's not daytime outside, or else you're immediately getting burnt to a crisp, and I don't think you're gonna be able to hide your approach as you're screaming in agony looking for some blood. And the thing is, the blood actually doesn't even work that well, because the thing is, they have to drink blood. They have to slurp it up, slobber all over it, meaning that they also just can't eat as regular as other demons can, because they need the blood of other creatures. And of course, they could probably just drink it from animals. It's not too bad a weakness, but like, still, it's just inconvenient. That's what, if I had to say, the whole thing about vampires in general, and why I think Vemons are just stuck out of luck and down atrocious, is because they're just worse at demons. Like, they just make everything more complicated and more difficult. Where a demon could just walk outside and enjoy the beautiful day, you can't have a Vemon do that, because they're going to start burning. While a Vemon, I keep saying Vemon, well, as a demon could walk around knowing and secure in the fact that they have multiple hearts, a Vemon may have to worry, oh no, I just have one, because my mama, I gotta look around, make sure no one gets it, bada bing, bada boom. A demon may not be able to survive being decapitated. I'm not sure. Like, if you took off Galen's head, I'm not sure you could just put it back on. But then again, we literally see Melascula's head get, like, straight, snapped open, her neck did a whole 180, and she was just fine. Meanwhile, demons, it seems not to be the case. So that's rough on that front. The only thing that a Vemon brings to the table that a demon doesn't is their longevity. Hypothetically, considering they shouldn't age because they're vampires, they shouldn't, I don't think. At least that's what the wiki says. So the wiki says they have pseudo-immortality. So they get to bypass the 1,000-year limit of regular demons, which is nice. That is a good perk. Depending on who you ask. Some people wouldn't want to be immortal. Like, me personally, I don't think I would want to be immortal. I would not want to live. I would not want to outlive my family and friends. That would be rough. But in terms of, like, a long-lasting species, it's good to have pseudo-immortality. That's the only perk they bring to the table. Everything else is worse. You have a lower quality darkness. You have a less of a resistance to sunlight. You have a reliant on the good juice of other living creatures. And you're just stuck out of luck most of the time. And you're double weak to light. You are double weak to a thing that is in abundance. Oh, they kind of just suck. I feel bad for Zeldris. However, that's what I think. Please tell me what you guys think in the comment section down below. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe. Make sure the little notifications will so you miss out on any videos that come to the channel. Also I do a Patreon down below. It's for as low as $1 a month. And exclusive videos, early content, and more. You also now become a member of the channel for as low as $3 a month to get the same perks and more. Thank you so much for watching once again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day. This is That Guy with the Pencil, writing off.